Hello, dear members of the Soul Stories family. Today we will bring you a romantic love story, so let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any meaningful stories. New York City, October, a crisp chill weaving through the vibrant, neon-lit streets. Lily Hart, 25, hurried along the crowded Manhattan sidewalk, her white blouse crisp but slightly creased after a long day's work. Her light brown hair was neatly tied up, round glasses shielding her quiet gaze. She kept her head down, dodging the fleeting glances of strangers. To Lily, this city was both dazzling and distant, like a beautiful painting she could only admire from afar. Lily worked as an office clerk at a small media company where she toiled diligently but rarely stood out. She entered data, scheduled meetings, answered emails, and occasionally wrote short newsletters that no one read closely. Her colleagues were friendly, but none truly knew her. Lily didn't complain. She was content with her modest Brooklyn apartment, her quiet evenings spent reading or watching old movies. Yet deep down, she sometimes felt adrift, as if she didn't belong here, or anywhere. A few blocks away in a gleaming glass tower, Damian Cross, 31, sat pensive in the CEO's office of CrossTech, a leading global tech company. Dressed in an expensive black suit, his hair slicked back, his deep blue eyes betrayed exhaustion. In the boardroom, Damian was a cold, sharp wolf, capable of making rivals tremble with a single glance. But in private, he was a goofy man who loved cracking jokes and doing absurd things to make his friends laugh. He once posed as a delivery guy to prank a close friend and wore a cat-printed shirt to a formal party just to shake things up. Damian didn't believe in love. To him, it was a fleeting emotion, as transient as autumn's breezes. He'd had a few relationships, but none made him want to stay. "Love's just a hormone game," he'd say with a wry half-smile. But tonight, Damian wasn't smiling. A major deal had just collapsed. His partner backed out at the last minute, leaving him with a slew of questions and a foul mood. Fate brought them to the same place, a networking gala at a luxurious midtown Manhattan hotel where entrepreneurs, office workers, and opportunity seekers mingled. Lily didn't want to be there. She hated crowded events where people swapped business cards and feigned interest. But her boss, Karen, had insisted, "You need to get out more, Lily. Networking is how you climb." Lily arrived with a heavy heart. She'd just been passed over for a promotion to assistant manager, a role she'd worked toward for 6 months. "You're good, but not stand out enough," Karen had said, her tone gentle but cutting like a knife. Lily didn't respond. She nodded, swallowed her tears, and told herself to try harder. But tonight, she didn't want to try. She wanted to forget. She sat hunched in a corner of the ballroom, a trembling glass of white wine in hand. Her simple black dress hugged her slender frame, but she still felt out of place among the glamorous gowns and confident smiles. She sipped her wine, then another, hoping the liquid would soothe the ache tearing at her heart. Damian appeared at the bar a few steps away, his suit jacket off, tie loosened. He ordered a whiskey, downed it in one gulp, and called for another. The failed deal irritated him, but what gnawed deeper was the emptiness. He scanned the room, fake conversations, perfunctory handshakes, and felt disgusted. He wanted to leave, but then his gaze landed on the girl in the corner. Lily wasn't strikingly beautiful. She didn't have golden hair or bold red lips, like the women circling him. But something about her held Damian's attention. Maybe it was her sad eyes or the way she clutched her glass as if it were her only anchor. He didn't know. He just knew he wanted to get closer. "This place feels more like a business card auction than a party, don't you think?" Damian said, sliding into the chair beside Lily without waiting for an invitation. Lily flinched, nearly spilling her wine. She glanced at him, a tall man with sharp features and a half-smile that was both confident and mischievous. She didn't know who he was, and she didn't want to chat, but he was already there, and she was too tired to refuse. "Guess so," she mumbled, her voice barely audible, eyes fixed on her glass. Damian tilted his head, studying her. "You don't seem like someone who enjoys these things. I bet you were forced to come, right?" Lily gave a small smile, her first of the night. "Is it that obvious?" "Clear as day," Damian winked. "Let me guess. Your boss said this was a golden opportunity, but right now, you just want to go home, curl up on the couch with a book. Am I right? Lily looked up, surprised he'd nailed it. She nodded, saying nothing more. Damien continued, his tone light but magnetic. So why are you sad? Don't tell me it's just this party. There's something bigger, isn't there? Lily shook her head, but the wine loosened her tongue. It's just work. I didn't get a promotion. No big deal. No big deal, but it hurts, right? Damien said, his voice softening. He raised his whiskey, gently clinking it against her glass. I just lost a big deal myself. We're both losers tonight. Shall we drink to that? They toasted, and for the first time, Lily felt lighter. Damien wasn't like the others in the room. He didn't brag or try to impress. He just talked, as if they'd known each other forever. They shared fragmented stories about work, failures, dreams no one understood. The wine blurred everything, and the distance between them faded. No one knows what changed it all. Maybe it was when Damien lightly touched her hand, or when Lily looked into his eyes and saw something genuine. They left the party, stepped into the elevator, then into the hotel room Damien had reserved. No promises, no questions about tomorrow. Just passion, impulsiveness, and a night both thought would never repeat. As Lily lay in Damien's arms, she felt seen, valued, if only for a moment. She whispered almost to herself, "Just one night, okay?" Damien, his voice hoarse, replied, "Just one night." But neither knew that night wasn't an end. It was the start of a story far longer than they'd ever imagined. The next morning, soft sunlight slipped through the thick silk curtains of the luxurious Manhattan hotel room, casting faint golden streaks across the wooden floor. Lily Hart woke with a foggy mind, the remnants of last night's wine lingering. She blinked, trying to make sense of her surroundings. The king-size bed with white silk sheets, the faint scent of masculine cologne, and then a warm body beside her. Her heart pounded as she turned and saw Damien Cross, eyes closed, breathing steadily, his face relaxed like a child lost in a dream. Panic surged like a tidal wave. Lily sat up abruptly, clutching her head as fragments of the previous night flooded back like a slow-motion film. The networking gala, the glasses of wine, the fragmented conversations, Damien's mischievous smile, and then the moment they crashed into each other. No thoughts, no restraint. She bit her lip, berating herself. What have I done? She glanced at Damien again. He was still fast asleep, one arm loosely draped over a pillow, his dark hair tousled. In the dim light, he seemed more approachable, no longer the confident, sharp man she'd met last night. But that only heightened her fear. She didn't know who he was beyond the name Damien and a few scattered stories. She didn't want to know. All she wanted now was to leave before he woke up and things got more complicated. Lily slid out of bed silently, careful not to make a sound. She searched for her clothes. Her simple black dress lay crumpled on the floor, her high heels kicked into a corner. She dressed quickly, her hands trembling as she zipped up the dress. Every second she feared Damien would open his eyes and call her name. But he remained asleep, and she felt both relieved and hollow. Before leaving, Lily paused, looking at Damien. She couldn't deny the warmth of last night, when he listened to her, when he touched her, as if she were the only thing that mattered in the world. But that was just the wine, just a reckless moment. She couldn't let it linger. She grabbed a piece of hotel stationery from the desk and scribbled a few lines with a cheap ballpoint pen. Just one night. Thank you for making me feel seen. She placed the note on the table beside the half-empty whiskey glass from last night. Then she turned, walked out, the door closing behind her with a soft click. Lily hurried down the hallway, not daring to look back. The elevator carried her to the lobby, and as she stepped outside, New York's frigid air slapped her face like a warning. She took a deep breath, telling herself, it was just a mistake. Forget it, Lily. She took a taxi back to her small Brooklyn apartment, curling up in the back seat, watching the city's lights blur past the window. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't erase Damien's image. His smile, his warm voice, the way he made her feel special, if only for a few hours. Her heart stirred, but she forced herself to bury it. She didn't want to hope. She didn't want to hurt. She just wanted to return to her normal life, where she was Lily Hart, the shy office clerk, not the girl who dared to plunge into a passionate night with a stranger. In the hotel room, Damien woke later, the sunlight now brighter. He blinked, his head throbbing slightly from the whiskey. The room was silent, and he immediately sensed something was wrong. The girl with sad eyes and a shy smile, was gone. He sat up, looking around. The black dress was no longer on the floor. The high heels were gone from the corner. Only a small piece of paper sat on the table, next to the empty whiskey glass. Damien picked up the note, reading the shaky handwriting. Just one night. Thank you for making me feel seen. He read it again and again, his half-smile fading. Just one night. Why does it feel so haunting? He muttered, his voice hoarse. He remembered every detail of her brown eyes sparkling when she smiled, the way she bit her lip when flustered, the warmth of her in his arms. It wasn't just a reckless night. There was something deeper, but he couldn't name it. Damien lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling, the note still clutched in his hand. He laughed at himself. I must be crazy. He, Damien Cross, CEO of Crosstech, who never cared about any relationship, was now obsessed with a girl whose full name he didn't even know. He only knew she was Lily, the name she'd whispered in her drunken haze. No last name, no phone number, no clues. Just this note and a strange emptiness in his chest. He got up, walked to the window and looked down at New York's bustling traffic. The city was vast, crowded, but he couldn't stop thinking about finding her. She doesn't want me to find her, he mumbled, glancing at the note one last time before folding it and slipping it into his suit jacket pocket. But no matter what his logic said, his heart wouldn't listen. He wanted to see her again, if only to ask, why just one night? In the days that followed, Lily tried to return to her routine. She went to the office early, worked diligently, and smiled at colleagues despite the weight in her heart. She told herself that night was just a moment of weakness. Nothing more. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damien. His gaze, his voice, the way he made her feel worthy. She hated herself for it. I can't be weak, she told herself, forcing her focus onto work. She started staying late, taking on tasks she'd usually avoid, just to keep her mind off him. But every night, back in her small apartment, she couldn't stop the memories from flooding in. She sat on her couch, cradling a mug of hot tea, staring out the window, wondering what he was doing. Did he remember her? Or was that night just a game to him? She shook her head, reminding herself, don't dream, Lily. He doesn't belong in your world. Damien, on the other hand, couldn't let her fade into a memory. He returned to work, attending meetings and signing contracts, but his mind wandered. He kept the note in his desk drawer, pulling it out occasionally to read, as if it held some hidden clue. He started noticing women with light brown hair or shy gaits, but none were her. New York was too big, and he felt powerless. He shared the story with his best friend Ethan over beers one night. You're crazy, Damien, Ethan laughed. It was just one night. You've met tons of girls like that. Why's this one different? Damien shrugged, unable to answer. He didn't know why. He only knew that she, Lily, had left a void he couldn't fill. She's not like anyone else, he said, his voice low. She's real. Ethan shook his head, but Damien didn't care. He didn't believe in love, but for the first time, he felt he was searching for something bigger than himself. He didn't know that, in just a few weeks, fate would bring them face to face again, and everything would change forever. 3 months had passed since that fateful night, but for Lily Hart, time wasn't enough to erase the memory. She'd tried her hardest to return to her normal routine, waking early, catching the subway to her small Manhattan office, diligently entering data and answering emails. She told herself that night, the night she fell into the arms of a stranger named Damien, was a mistake, a reckless moment fueled by wine and sadness. But whenever she sat alone in her modest Brooklyn apartment, watching the city lights twinkle through the window, she couldn't stop his image from surfacing. His mischievous smile, his deep blue eyes, the way he made her feel special, if only for a few hours. Lily berated herself for that weakness. She couldn't let a fleeting night disrupt her life. She worked overtime, took on extra tasks, even enrolled in online management courses to fill her time. But no matter how hard she tried, she still heard his warm voice in her head, still remembered the safety of his embrace. She shook her head, telling herself, "Don't be foolish, Lily. He's probably long forgotten you." Meanwhile, Damian Cross couldn't forget. He kept the note she'd left in his desk drawer, rereading the words "just one night" as if they held some hidden secret. He, who'd never cared about any relationship, was now haunted by a girl he only knew as Lily. He'd tried to find her, asking the networking gala organizers, even having an assistant check the guest list, but to no avail. New York was too vast, and Lily Hart seemed to have vanished like a dream. But fate had its own plans. One January morning, Damian strode into the 45th floor meeting room at Crosstech's headquarters, ready for a joint venture with a small media company. Dressed in a sharp gray suit and a deep blue tie, he exuded the commanding presence of a powerful CEO. The project wasn't major, but he wanted to personally oversee it to ensure smooth sailing after the previous deal's failure. He sat at the head of the table, skimming documents, barely noticing the partner's representatives entering, until a soft voice spoke. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Lily Hart, representing Brightwave Media." Damian's head snapped up, his heart skipping a beat. It was her, the girl from that night. Lily stood there in a white blouse and black pencil skirt, her hair neatly tied up, her round glasses accentuating her brown eyes. She held a stack of documents, her voice professional but slightly trembling as their eyes met. Her face flushed, and for a moment, Damian saw her bite her lip, that small habit etched in his memory. Lily was equally stunned. She'd prepared meticulously for this meeting, rehearsing her presentation dozens of times to impress a major partner like Crosstech. But she hadn't expected the man at the head of the table to be Damian, the man she'd tried to forget for 3 months. He was just as she remembered, tall, sharp-featured, with those piercing blue eyes that seemed to see through her. Her legs trembled, but she forced herself to stand firm. "Don't lose your composure," she told herself. "This is just work. He's just a partner." Damian, on the other hand, couldn't hide his delight. A roguish smile spread across his lips, his eyes gleaming as if he'd found treasure. He leaned forward, his warm voice interrupting her introduction. "Hello, Ms. Hart. We've met before, haven't we? You seem very familiar." The room fell silent, curious glances turning to Lily. Her face burned, her heart pounding. What was he doing? She feigned ignorance, replying curtly, "I'm not sure, Mr. Cross. Perhaps at some event." She looked down at her documents, trying to focus on her presentation, but her voice wavered. Damian didn't let up. He nodded, pretending to be serious, but his eyes never left her. Maybe, but I'm pretty good at remembering faces, especially memorable ones." Lily wanted to disappear. She took a deep breath and launched into her pitch about the collaboration, but every sentence felt like an internal battle. She told herself to forget that night, to treat Damian as just a business partner. But the way he looked at her, teasing yet sincere, made it impossible to focus. She finished her presentation earlier than planned, sitting down with trembling hands. The meeting ended, and Lily thought she'd escaped. She gathered her documents, preparing to leave, but Damian called after her. "Ms. Hart, I'd like to discuss the project further. Are you free for lunch today?" She froze. Her colleague, a guy named Mike, looked at her with awe, whispering, "The CEO of Crosstech is inviting you to lunch. That's a huge opportunity." Lily wanted to refuse, but Damian's gaze left no room for escape. She nodded reluctantly. "Yes, that's fine." From then on, Damian launched a relentless assault on Lily with his cheeky charm and blatant flirting. He used the project as an excuse to be everywhere. In meetings, he deliberately misnamed her. "Ms. Lily of that fateful night. I mean, Ms. Hart, any thoughts?" The room would erupt in laughter while Lily blushed, glaring at him but not daring to react strongly. Once, he accidentally dropped his pen in front of her, giving her a mischievous grin. "Could you pick it up for me? I'm a bit clumsy." Gritting her teeth, Lily handed it back, wanting to scream that he was doing it on purpose. Damian didn't stop at teasing. He started sending work emails laced with silly jokes. One email titled "Next Week's Project Plan" read, "Ms. Hart, did you know your eyes in today's meeting made me forget half my presentation? P.S. Wear blue next week. It suits you better." Lily read it, torn between annoyance and amusement, but replied tersely, "Thank you for the feedback. I'll review the documents." One morning, Lily arrived at the office to find a vanilla latte on her desk, accompanied by a handwritten note. "Drink up one night, girl. Don't work too hard." She looked around, knowing instantly it was Damien's doing. She wanted to toss the coffee to maintain distance, but the sweet vanilla scent was too tempting. She took a sip and, despite herself, smiled. "Such a pest," she muttered, but her heart was wavering. Damien grew bolder. During a team meeting, as Lily presented an idea, he interjected, "I agree with Ms. Hart, not just because it's a great idea, but because she delivered it with the best smile in the room." The group chuckled while Lily wished she could sink into the floor. She maintained her professionalism, responding, "Thank you, Mr. Cross, but I think we should focus on the project." But his gaze, playful yet genuine, made it hard to stay mad. Lily battled herself daily. She knew she shouldn't let Damien get closer. That night was a mistake, and she didn't want to repeat it. She feared opening her heart, feared getting hurt, feared he was just toying with her emotions. But Damien's attention didn't feel like a game. He remembered she liked vanilla lattes, discreetly placed an umbrella under her chair when it rained, and listened to her ideas in meetings with genuine respect. One afternoon, after a long meeting, Damien asked her to stay behind. He closed the door, stepped closer, his voice low. "Lily, you can pretend you don't remember that night, but I can't. I know you're trying to avoid me, but I'm not giving up." Lily stepped back, her heart racing. "Mr. Cross, please keep things professional. We're just partners." Damien smiled, but his eyes were serious. "Professional? Fine. But do you know that every time you bite your lip when you're nervous, I just want to pull you out of this meeting room and kiss you?" Lily flushed, turning away. "Don't say that. You don't understand." "Then let me understand," Damien said, his voice softening as he stepped closer. "Give me a chance, Lily, not just one night. Something more." Lily didn't respond. She rushed out of the room, her heart in turmoil. She wanted to run, but deep down she couldn't deny that Damien was slowly creeping into her heart, bit by bit. Lily Hart walked into the office on Monday morning with a heart full of turmoil. 3 months had passed since that fateful night with Damien Cross, and 2 weeks since he unexpectedly re-entered her life at the Cross-Tech meeting. Her world had become a whirlwind of mixed emotions. She wanted to keep her distance, to treat him as just a business partner. But Damien seemed determined to dismantle every wall she'd built. His cheeky teasing, overt flirting, and sincere gazes made it impossible for her to maintain the professional demeanor she so desperately wanted. Damien Cross, meanwhile, was riding a wave of exhilaration. He knew he'd found Lily, the girl from that night, who left an inexplicable void in his heart. He didn't just want to see her again. He wanted her to stay, not for one night, but forever. Yet he also saw how guarded she was. Shy, reserved, and always poised to flee, Lily was a challenge that only fueled his determination. And Damien Cross was not one to back down. That morning, Lily had barely sat at her desk, not even opening her laptop, when her colleague Sarah approached with a mischievous grin. "Lily, you've got a special delivery." Sarah placed a bouquet of white roses on the desk. Pristine blooms wrapped in simple craft paper. Attached was a small card, written in bold, playful handwriting, "For the girl who blushes the most. P.S. Smile more today, okay?" Lily felt her cheeks burn. She didn't need to see the sender's name to know it was Damien. Sarah winked. "Someone's got their eye on you, Lily." "The CEO of Cross-Tech isn't playing around." Lily shook her head, muttering, "It's just teasing." But she couldn't stop herself from gently brushing the petals, wondering silently, why is he doing this? She carefully tucked the flowers into a corner of her desk, trying to focus on work. But Damien wouldn't let her off easily. At noon, a vanilla latte appeared on her desk with a note. "Drink up, my girl. Don't work too hard." It was him again. Lily stared at the coffee, the sweet vanilla scent coaxing an involuntary smile. She took a sip, and for a moment she felt warmth, as if Damien were standing right there, flashing his roguish grin. Damien didn't stop at flowers and coffee. Another morning, Lily arrived at the office to find a book neatly placed on her desk, How to Love a Shy Girl. The cover featured a cute cartoon couple, and inside was a note. Read this. I think you'll find it interesting. P.S. I highlighted the best chapters. Lily flipped through it, finding pages underlined in pencil with lines like, "Be patient, she's worth the wait," and "One smile from her can light up the whole world." Her colleague Mike passed by and burst out laughing. "Lily, someone's getting serious. This book is a full-on love declaration." Lily blushed, quickly hiding the book in her drawer, muttering, "It's just a joke." But she couldn't deny her heart was racing. She told herself to stay distant, to stay professional, but each of Damien's gestures chipped away at the wall she'd built. Damien didn't just woo her with gifts. He cared for her in subtle, intimate ways that she couldn't ignore. One chilly New York day, Lily forgot her coat in her rush to leave home. During a cross-tech meeting, she sat shivering, trying to hide it. Damien, at the head of the table, noticed immediately. Without a word, he slipped off his suit jacket, walked to her, and draped it over her shoulders, drawing surprised glances from the room. "Ms. Hart, don't catch a cold," he said, his tone casual but his eyes twinkling. Lily wanted to refuse, but the warmth of the jacket and the faint scent of his cologne left her speechless. She mumbled, "Thank you." Damien just smiled, returning to his seat as if nothing had happened, though the room buzzed with whispers. Damien's cheekiness peaked one rainy afternoon. Lily worked late, and as she left the office, she realized she'd forgotten her umbrella. She stood under the awning, watching the downpour, cursing her forgetfulness. Then a large umbrella appeared over her head, and Damien's warm voice rang out, "My girl, are you planning to shower in this rain?" Lily jumped, turning to see Damien, soaked from shoulders to feet but grinning brightly. His white dress shirt clung to his body, his hair plastered to his forehead, but he didn't care. "I don't want you getting sick," he said, pulling her close to shield her from the rain. Lily pushed him away reflexively, her face flaming. Don't do that." Damien tilted his head, his grin growing sly. "Why not? We've been closer than this, or have you forgotten?" He winked, alluding to that fateful night. Lily wanted to argue, but all she managed was a soft, "Don't talk nonsense." She turned away, hiding the smile creeping onto her lips. Damien grabbed her hand, pulling her under the umbrella. "Come on, I'm taking you home. No arguments." Lily followed reluctantly, feeling the warmth of his hand. As they walked, he rambled about spilling coffee on his laptop during a critical meeting or convincing a hotel chef to make a sandwich because he felt like it. Lily laughed, and for the first time, she felt at ease with him. Despite her efforts to stay professional, Lily couldn't deny that Damien was slipping into her heart. He wasn't just cheeky or flirtatious. He genuinely cared. He remembered she loved vanilla lattes, noticed when she bit her lip under stress, and always made time to hear her ideas in meetings as if they mattered more than anyone else's. Those small things made her waver, but they also terrified her. Lily was afraid to open her heart. She'd believed in love before, but past relationships had only left her with disappointment. She feared Damien was just playing, that a man like him, a powerful, confident, charismatic CEO, would soon tire of an ordinary girl like her. She told herself to keep her distance, to protect her heart, but every time she looked into his eyes, she saw a sincerity she couldn't ignore. The turning point came during a late meeting at Crosstech. The collaboration project was entering a critical phase, and the team stayed until 9 p.m. Lily presented the final report, her voice tired but clear. When the meeting ended, everyone left, leaving just her and Damien in the empty conference room. She gathered her documents, avoiding his gaze, but Damien stepped in front of her. "Lily," he said, his voice low and serious, devoid of his usual playfulness. She looked up, her heart pounding. His deep blue eyes locked onto hers, as if anchoring her in place. "I know you want to forget that night, but I can't. I want more than one night, Lily." Lily froze. Her breath felt heavy, as if the world had narrowed to just the two of them. She wanted to run, but her feet felt rooted. "Mr. Cross," she said, her voice trembling, "please, keep this professional." Damien shook his head, stepping closer, his voice soft but resolute. "Professional? I can't, Lily. Not when every time I see you, I want to tell you that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Lily turned away, tears welling up. "You don't understand. You don't know who I am. I'm not who you think." "Then let me find out," Damien said, gently touching her arm. "I don't need you to be someone extraordinary. I just need you to be Lily, the girl who makes me laugh, who makes me want to be a better version of myself." Lily stepped back, clutching her documents like a shield. I need time," she whispered, then rushed out, leaving Damien standing there, his eyes a mix of hope and pain. She ran to the lobby, breathing in New York's cold air, her heart in chaos. She was terrified, afraid this feeling would lead to hurt, afraid she wasn't strong enough to face him. But deep down, she couldn't deny she was falling. The Damien Cross, with all his cheekiness and sincerity, had made her want to believe in love again. Damien Cross had never felt his heart so heavy as he did these days. He, the man always confident and decisive in the boardroom, now faced a crossroads he dreaded. His family, particularly his father, Richard Cross, a powerful businessman with an extensive network, had arranged an engagement to solidify the family status. The match was Serena Williams, the only daughter of the Williams dynasty, a financial empire controlling banks and investment funds. This marriage wasn't just a union of families, it was a political and business deal, promising to elevate Crosstech to new heights. Damien agreed reluctantly, not out of desire, but under pressure from his parents. "This is your duty," Richard said one evening at the family's Upper East Side mansion, his voice cold and sharp. "Serena is suitable. She understands our world." His mother, Eleanor, was gentler, taking his hand and saying, "You need a strong woman by your side, Damien. Serena will keep you grounded." But in Damien's heart, only one person consumed his thoughts. Lily Hart, the shy girl with sad brown eyes who had stirred his soul from a reckless night and haunted him ever since. The flowers, the vanilla lattes, the cheeky teasing, all were his attempts to draw her closer. But Lily, though clearly moved, kept her distance, as if opening her heart would lead to pain. And now, as news of his engagement to Serena began to leak, Lily grew even more distant. Lily heard about the engagement from a colleague, Sarah, during a lunch break at the office. Sarah scrolled through an online article on her phone, its headline blaring, "Crosstech CEO set to be engaged to heiress Serena Williams." She gushed, "Have you seen this, Lily? Damien Cross is marrying a billionaire heiress. They're such a power couple." Lily forced a smile, but inside, it felt like someone was squeezing her heart. She clutched her coffee cup, her hands trembling, trying to hide her emotions. She'd already learned of it from a work email Damien accidentally sent her, mentioning an important family event that weekend. She hadn't asked for details, but her heart painted the scene. Damien, in a tailored suit, standing beside a beautiful, powerful woman who belonged in his world. She told herself it was inevitable. He was a CEO. She was just an ordinary office worker. His flirting, his gestures of care were probably just a game, a way to pass the time before he stepped into his real life. From that day, Lily avoided Damien outside of work. She declined in-person meetings at Crosstech, sending colleagues in her place. She responded to his emails curtly, ignoring his playful jabs. Once he sent a vanilla latte to her office with a note. "Are you mad at me? Tell me, my girl." Lily stared at the note, tears welling up, but she crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. She didn't want to hope anymore. She didn't want to hurt again. Damien noticed Lily's change and it drove him to the edge. He tried calling, texting, but she didn't respond. He visited her office, but she always left before he arrived. He knew she'd heard about the engagement, and he wanted to explain, to tell her he didn't want this, that his heart was hers alone. But Lily gave him no chance, and with each passing day, the pressure from his family grew, pushing him closer to an engagement he dreaded. The engagement ceremony took place at the Plaza Hotel, one of New York's most opulent venues. The ballroom was adorned with crystal chandeliers, white roses imported from France, and tables draped in silk. Hundreds of guests, business tycoons, politicians, and media, gathered, creating an atmosphere both grand and tense. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashing relentlessly, eager to capture the power couple of high society. Serena Williams entered the ballroom in a diamond-encrusted gown, sparkling like a star. Tall, with glossy blonde hair and a confident yet icy smile, she took Damien's arm, posing for the cameras as the crowd murmured in awe. Serena was the perfect heiress, intelligent, alluring, and skilled at commanding attention. But to Damien, she was a stranger, a piece of a plan he wanted no part of. Damien stood there, in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, a silk navy tie accentuating his blue eyes. He smiled for the cameras, but the smile was hollow. He felt like an actor playing a role he hadn't chosen. His parents stood nearby, Richard nodding in approval, Eleanor whispering to a guest about the couple's bright future. But in Damien's mind, there was only Lily, the way she bit her lip when nervous, her rare smiles, the sad eyes he longed to comfort. The ceremony began with brief speeches. Richard took the podium, speaking of the historic alliance between the families. Serena stood beside Damien, her hand lightly on his arm, but he felt trapped. When the moment came to exchange rings, the act that would formalize the betrothal, his parents urged him forward. Serena smiled, extending her hand, a dazzling diamond ring gleaming in its red velvet box. The crowd hushed, waiting. But Damien didn't move. He stood frozen, gripping the microphone, his eyes distant. Lily's image flashed vividly, her curled up in the corner at the networking gala, her blushing at his teasing, her trembling when he said he wanted more than one night. He realized that if he went through with this, he'd lose her forever, and that fear outweighed any pressure from family or society. He took a deep breath and raised the microphone, his resolute voice echoing through the ballroom. "I'm sorry, I can't do this. The person I love isn't here." The room fell silent. Serena froze, her smile stiffening. Richard stepped forward, his face flushed, hissing, "Damien, what are you doing?" Eleanor covered her mouth, eyes wide. The crowd began to murmur, cameras flashing frantically, capturing the unthinkable moment. Serena grabbed Damien's hand, her nails digging into his skin. "Are you insane?" she whispered, her voice trembling with fury. But Damien gently pried her hand away, meeting her eyes. "I'm sorry, Serena, but I can't lie to myself or to you." He turned to the crowd, his voice calm but powerful. "I don't belong here. Not today, and not in this marriage. Thank you all for coming, but I have to go find the person who truly matters to me." He set the microphone down, stepped off the platform, and left Serena and the ballroom in chaos. Reporters surged forward, shouting questions, but Damien didn't stop. Richard called after him, voice thick with anger. "Damien, get back here!" But he only walked faster, his heart pounding with one singular goal: find Lily. Outside the ballroom, the news spread like wildfire. Headlines flooded online. Crosstech CEO cancels engagement mid-ceremony. Damien Cross rejects heiress, Serena Williams for a mystery woman. New York's elite buzzed, speculating about the person I love Damien had mentioned. Serena, though furious, maintained a composed front for the press, stating, "This is just a misunderstanding. Damien and I will resolve this privately." But everyone could see she was salvaging her pride. Meanwhile, Damien sat in his car, calling his assistant, demanding every detail about Lily Hart, her address, phone number, anything. He knew she'd been avoiding him, knew she might have misunderstood the engagement, but he didn't care. He'd broken free of every constraint to chase her, and now he only wanted to tell her she was all he needed. He looked out the window, light rain beginning to fall on New York streets. "Lily," he whispered, "I'll find you. And this time, I won't let you run away." Lily Hart sat curled up on the office sofa at Brightwave Media, the glow of her laptop screen illuminating her pale face. It was nearly the end of the workday, but she lingered, trying to finish a report to avoid confronting the thoughts tearing at her heart. The day before, while checking emails, she'd stumbled across an online article. Its headline hit her like a blade. Damien Cross, Crosstech CEO, set to be engaged to heiress Serena Williams. She read the words repeatedly, hoping it was a mistake. The article included a photo of Damien in a sharp suit, standing beside a stunning blonde, Serena Williams, daughter of a financial dynasty. It described them as a power couple, detailing the upcoming engagement ceremony at the Plaza Hotel, an event New York's elite eagerly anticipated. Each word stabbed at Lily's heart, leaving her breathless. She slammed her laptop shut, hands trembling. Memories of Damien flooded back, his roguish smile when he called her my one-night girl, the white roses he sent to her desk, the vanilla latte with a handwritten note, the moment he pulled her close under an umbrella in the rain. She'd tried to keep her distance, to stay professional, but his sincerity had crept into her heart, making her hope. Hope that he was serious, that he wanted more than one night. But now it all felt like a cruel joke. She imagined Damien had chosen Serena, someone who belonged in his world. Wealthy, powerful, perfect. His flirting, his gestures of care, were likely just a game, a way to pass the time before he embraced his true life. She berated herself for being foolish, for letting her heart fall for someone like him. "I'm so stupid," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Lily wiped her eyes, standing to gather her things. She couldn't stay in New York a moment longer. This city, with its twinkling lights and bustling streets, now only reminded her of Damien, of that fateful night, his unexpected appearances, and the pain crushing her. She needed to leave, to find a place to heal, to forget him. She opened her laptop and wrote a brief email to her boss, Karen. "Dear Ms. Karen, I am resigning for personal reasons, effective immediately. Thank you for everything." She hit send before she could reconsider, then shut down the computer. She packed lightly, just a backpack with a few clothes and the book How to Love a Shy Girl that Damien had left on her desk. She looked at the book, her fingers tracing the cover, then stuffed it into her bag. She didn't want to keep it, but she lacked the courage to throw it away. Lily caught a late-night train from Penn Station to Boston, where her family lived in a modest suburban apartment. She sat by the window, watching the city lights fade, her heart heavy. She told herself this was the right choice. She didn't belong in Damien's world, and he didn't belong in hers. But no matter what her mind said, her heart ached, as if she'd left a piece of herself in New York. The Hart family's apartment sat in a quiet neighborhood, lined with red brick houses and maple trees turning golden. When Lily pushed open the door, her mother, Margaret, was in the kitchen, the scent of freshly baked cookies wafting through the air. Margaret looked up, surprised. "Lily, why didn't you tell us you were coming?" Lily managed a weak smile, but her red-rimmed eyes betrayed her. Margaret set down the baking tray and enveloped her in a hug. "What's wrong, sweetheart? What happened?" Lily didn't want to talk, but her mother's embrace broke her. She sobbed, spilling everything, about the fateful night with Damien, his cheeky yet sincere gestures, how she'd started to fall for him, and the article announcing his engagement to another woman. She curled up on the sofa, clutching a mug of hot tea her mother made, tears falling endlessly. "I was so stupid, Mom. I thought he really liked me. But I was just a game." Margaret sat beside her, stroking her hair. "You're not stupid, Lily. You're just in love, and love always comes with fear. But you can't let an article decide your happiness. Have you talked to him? Given him a chance to explain?" Lily shook her head. "I don't need to, Mom. He's a CEO, and I'm just me. He chose someone who fits his world. I don't blame him. I just want to forget." Her father, Thomas, entered the room, catching the end of the conversation. A quiet man who worked at a small auto repair shop, he always made Lily feel safe. He sat across from her, his voice low. "Lily, I'm not rich or powerful, but I've loved your mother for 30 years because she's the only one who makes me want to be a better man. If this guy truly cares about you, he won't let you go easily. But if you run away out of fear, you'll never know the truth." Lily looked at her father, tears falling again. "But what if I'm wrong, Dad? What if I hope and get hurt again?" Thomas smiled, taking her hand. "You're stronger than you think, sweetheart. If you love him, face it. Don't let a misunderstanding steal your chance at happiness." Her parents' words left Lily restless. She lay on her childhood bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, her mind in turmoil. She wanted to believe Damien hadn't deceived her, that his actions weren't just a game. But the image of him with Serena in the article haunted her, making her afraid to hope. She clutched How to Love a Shy Girl, flipping to a page he'd underlined. One smile from her can light up the whole world. She cried, wondering if he truly thought of her that way. The days in Boston passed slowly. Lily helped her mother garden, walked with her father along a nearby trail, trying to find peace. But each night, alone, she couldn't stop thinking of Damien. She wondered what he was doing, if he was happy with Serena, if he ever thought of her. She picked up her phone, scrolling through news sites but deliberately avoiding articles about him. She feared reading about the engagement, afraid her heart would shatter again. She started a journal, pouring her emotions onto the pages. She wrote about that fateful night, how he made her laugh, the pain of thinking he'd chosen another. "You said you wanted more than one night," she wrote, "but maybe you didn't know I wanted that too. I just wasn't brave enough to say it." Damien Cross stormed out of the Plaza Hotel, leaving behind a chaotic ballroom and the stunned gazes of hundreds of guests. Light rain fell on New York streets, soaking his black tuxedo, but he didn't care. His heart pounded, not from the adrenaline of canceling his engagement, but from a singular purpose: finding Lily Hart. He'd let her slip through his fingers for too long, and now he couldn't bear to lose her again. In the car, he called his assistant, his voice urgent. "Find everything you can on Lily Hart. Address, phone number, anything. I need to know where she is, now." His assistant, a dedicated woman named Clara, hesitated. "Sir, the press is going wild over what just happened. Are you sure?" Damien cut her off. "I've never been sure." "Do it, Clara." Clara worked quickly, but tracking Lily wasn't easy. She'd quit Brightwave Media without leaving contact details. Damien pulled every string he had, reaching out to Lily's former colleagues, contacting project collaborators, even enlisting a tech-savvy friend to trace her digital footprint. But Lily was like a ghost, vanishing from New York without a trace. The next few hours were a nightmare for Damien. He drove aimlessly through the city, stopping at places he'd seen Lily, the coffee shop she liked, the small park near her office, even the Crosstech building where they'd worked together. He called her dozens of times, but her number was disconnected. He sent emails, texts, all sinking into silence. For a man used to controlling everything, the helplessness was alien and suffocating. Finally, the next morning, Clara called with a lead. "I found an address in suburban Boston, registered to the Hart family. She might be there." Damien didn't hesitate. He caught the earliest flight to Boston, carrying nothing but his phone and the note Lily left from that fateful night. "Just one night. Thank you for making me feel seen." He clutched it in his pocket, as if it were the last thread tying him to her. Boston greeted Damien with a light drizzle, not enough to drench, but enough to chill the air. He stood before the Hart family's modest home, a red brick house with white trim windows and a small garden of daisies. The house felt warm, inviting, a stark contrast to New York's gleaming glass towers. Damien took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. He didn't know if Lily was here, didn't know if she'd want to see him, but he had to try, even if it was just once. He stepped onto the porch, his shirt damp from the rain, hair plastered to his forehead. He knocked, each rap a plea. An older woman, Margaret, Lily's mother, opened the door. She studied him, her eyes a mix of surprise and caution. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice gentle but wary. "I'm Damien Cross," he replied, his voice hoarse from a sleepless night. "I need to see Lily. Please, I know she might not want to see me, but I have to talk to her." Margaret scrutinized him, sensing the desperation in his eyes. Without a word, she turned and called, "Lily, someone's here for you." Lily was on the back porch, How to Love a Shy Girl open on her lap. Hearing her mother, she assumed it was a neighbor or an old friend. She stood, walked inside, and froze when she saw Damien standing there, soaked, his eyes filled with pain and determination. Her legs nearly gave out, and she gripped the doorframe for balance. "Damien," she whispered, her voice trembling. Tears welled up, but she fought them back. "What are you doing here?" Damien stepped forward, heedless of the wet footprints he left on the floor. His gaze locked onto her, as if she were his entire world. "I don't care what you think of me," he said, his voice raw. "I just know I need you, Lily." Lily shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. She opened the front door, stepping onto the porch, and he followed. The rain continued to drizzle, but neither noticed. She turned to him, her voice choked. "You flirted with me, made me fall for you, and then chose someone else? Why are you here, Damien? To apologize? To say you're sorry for toying with me?" Damien froze, realizing her misunderstanding. He stepped closer, grabbing her hand despite her attempt to pull away. "Lily, listen to me," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "I never chose anyone but you. I canceled the engagement because of you." Lily blinked, tears blurring her vision. "Canceled the engagement?" she repeated, her voice skeptical. "But the article? Serena?" Damien held her hand tighter, refusing to let go. "Serena was my family's choice, not mine. I agreed because of pressure, but I couldn't go through with it. At the engagement ceremony, when everyone waited for me to put the ring on her finger, all I could think of was you. You curled up at that gala, blushing when I teased you, trembling when I said I wanted more than one night. I stood there and realized if I went forward, I'd lose you forever. So I told the world the person I loved wasn't there." Lily stared at him, her heart seeming to stop. She wanted to believe him, but fear clung to her. "Why, Damien?" she whispered. "Why me? You could have anyone, Serena, or any other woman. I'm just me." Damien smiled, a smile both pained and warm. He reached up, brushing her cheek, wiping away her tears. "You're not just you, Lily. You're the woman who made me want to stop, to be better. You're the only one who made me believe love isn't just a fleeting feeling. I don't care how ordinary you think you are. To me, you're everything." Lily sobbed, no longer holding back. She threw herself into his arms, letting him hold her tightly under the rain. His warmth, despite his soaked clothes, made her feel safer than ever. "You promised just one night," she said, her voice muffled against his chest. Damien kissed her hair, whispering, "I was wrong. One night was never enough. I want forever, Lily." Margaret watched from behind the glass door, a soft smile on her lips. She turned back to the kitchen, giving them space. Thomas, reading the newspaper, looked up. "Is the boy all right?" Margaret nodded. "Better than we thought." On the porch, Lily looked up into Damien's eyes. She was still afraid this love was too big, too powerful, would sweep her away. But his gaze, the sincerity in every word, made her want to believe, to give them a chance. "I can't promise it'll be easy," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm scared, Damien. I'm not good at this." Damien took her hand, intertwining their fingers. "I'm scared too," he admitted, "but I'm more scared of losing you. We'll learn how to do this right together, okay?" Lily nodded, tears mixing with the rain. She smiled, her first real smile since leaving New York, and Damien felt the world light up. He pulled her into a kiss, gentle but brimming with emotion, as if pouring into it everything words couldn't express. The rain kept falling, but to them it was no longer cold. Damien had found Lily, and this time he wouldn't let her go. And Lily, though her heart still held fear, began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was worthy of this love. Autumn in Boston draped the maple trees in vibrant gold, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of dry leaves and freshly cut grass. In a small park near the Hart family home, where winding paths curled around a shimmering lake, Damien Cross stood beneath a wooden arch adorned with white daisies and green vines. He wore a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up, his mischievous smile softened by eyes brimming with love. Today wasn't a lavish, high society gala in New York. It was a moment that belonged solely to him and Lily Hart. Lily approached arm in arm with her father Thomas. She wore a simple white silk dress that flowed to her ankles, her light brown hair loose and natural, adorned with a delicate daisy crown. She wore no elaborate makeup, but her sparkling brown eyes and radiant smile made her more beautiful than any bride Damien had ever seen. Only family and a few close friends were present. Lily's mother, Margaret, tears in her eyes. Damien's best friend, Ethan, winking playfully, and a small group of their dearest loved ones. No press, no flashing cameras, no pressure from the outside world. Just love, pure and true. Damien had proposed to Lily 3 months earlier, right in this park, during a drizzly afternoon. He'd knelt, holding a simple silver ring with a small blue stone, and said, "Lily, I thought one night was enough. I was wrong. I want forever with you. Will you marry me?" Lily, tears streaming, had nodded, speechless. She'd once feared love, feared hurt, but Damien's sincerity had helped her overcome that fear, step by step. Today, under the soft autumn sun, they stood hand in hand, ready for a new journey. The officiant, an old friend of the Hart family, smiled and began, "We gather today to witness the love of Damien and Lily, a story that began with an unexpected moment and became destiny." Damien gazed at Lily, his eyes never leaving her. When it was time for their vows, he squeezed her hands, his warm voice resonating. "Lily, I was a fool who thought love was fleeting. Then you came along with your sad eyes and shy smile and changed everything. I promise to love you, protect you, and make you laugh every day, even if I'm a bit cheeky sometimes." The crowd chuckled and Lily smiled, tears glinting. Lily took a deep breath, her voice trembling but full of emotion. "Damien, I once thought I wasn't worthy of love, that I was just an ordinary girl. But you showed me I matter, not for who I could be, but for who I am. I promise to stay by your side through challenges and to try not to run when I'm scared." She winked and Damien laughed, pulling her closer. They exchanged rings, simple silver bands, each engraved with the other's name inside. As Damien slid the ring onto Lily's finger, he whispered in her ear, playful yet sincere, "I thought one night was enough. For you, I'd trade a lifetime." Lily blushed, lightly swatting his chest, and the crowd erupted in applause. Their kiss was gentle but profound, a silent vow. As they parted, Lily buried her face in his chest, and Damien held her tightly, as if never wanting to let go. The reception unfolded in the park, with wooden tables covered in white linen, homemade cookies by Margaret, and a local band playing lively tunes. Guests laughed, toasted, and danced under the sunset, creating a warm, love-filled atmosphere. They began their new life, not perfect but complete. Damien and Lily moved into a cozy Boston apartment, where Lily found work at a local media company. She was still shy but learning to trust love, to open her heart and embrace happiness. Damien, still Crosstech's CEO, had changed. No longer just the goofy man who teased, he became a husband who sought to make Lily smile, whether with silly notes left on the fridge or impromptu evening walks to stargaze in the park. Their life wasn't without challenges. Damien faced his family's anger after canceling the engagement, and the press occasionally dredged up the mystery woman story. Lily sometimes worried she wasn't enough for him, but whenever doubt crept in, Damien was there, holding her hand, saying, "You're my home, Lily. Nothing changes that." One evening, as they lay on the sofa, Lily reading, Damien's head in her lap, he looked up, flashing his roguish grin. "My girl, do you know when I fell for you?" Lily blushed, nudging him. "Stop being cheeky." But he continued, his voice soft. "When you bit your lip at that networking gala, looking at me like I was the biggest idiot alive, I knew then you were the one I'd chase forever." Lily laughed, leaning down to kiss him. "And I," she whispered, "fell for you when you stood in the rain, soaked like a drowned rat, just to say you needed me." A night meant to be fleeting became an eternal destiny. From a reckless moment in a Manhattan hotel, they found each other, overcoming misunderstandings, fears, and their own barriers. Damien, once a cheeky CEO, learned to love deeply. Lily, once a timid girl, learned she was worthy of happiness. Under Boston's night sky, they walked hand in hand on the park's winding path, where they'd vowed their love. Moonlight lit their way, and Damien whispered, "My girl, ready for forever?" Lily smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "Ready, but you'd better tone down the cheekiness." He laughed, kissing her forehead. "No promises." And they walked on hand in hand, knowing that whatever the future held, they had each other forever.